test, test. Madam Chair, the time is 4:06 p.m. You have quorum.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We now have a quorum, and we'll begin the Oklahoma City Arts Commission's December 20th, 2021 regularly scheduled meeting. Before the commission votes on each item, I will ask staff to provide details on each case. I will ask if the applicant has anything to add, and I will ask if any members of the public wish to speak. If you wish to address the Arts Commission, you will be recognized. You will go to the side podium one at a time and state your name and address for the record and begin your comments. Please limit those comments to no more than 3 minutes. We will now conduct a roll call. Mark, can you do that for us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bailey.
Present.
Commissioner Kovash. Present. Commissioner Salyer.
Present.
Commissioner Booker. Commissioner Chambers.
Present.
Commissioner Cooper.
Present.
Commissioner Duong.
Present. Oh,
Commissioner Eichmann.
Present.
Commissioner Hill.
Present.
Commissioner Loftus. Commissioner Mosant. Commissioner Ramirez. Commissioner Seward.
Present.
Commissioner Smalling.
Present.
Commissioner Williams. That completes the roll call, Madam Chair. You have quorum.
Thank you. Our first item is item 2, approval of the meeting minutes from November 15th, 2021, our regular meeting. I hope everyone has read through the minutes, and if there are no corrections to be brought to our attention, I will entertain a motion in a second.
Move approval.
Commissioner Cooper with a motion and Commissioner Salyer with a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, can we perform a roll call vote?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash.
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer.
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper.
Yes.
Commissioner Duong.
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann. Commissioner Hill.
Yes.
Commissioner Seward.
Yes.
Commissioner Smalling.
Yes.
That completes the vote, Madam Chair. The motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 3, items for discussion and action. 3A, Untitled Sculpture by Clint Shore, a 1% for art for Wendell Wisenhunt Sports Complex at Woodson Park, 3200 South Independence Avenue in Ward 3. Randy, can you present this item?
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Randy Marks, Public Art Project Manager. Let me double check about advancing this. So just
Presentation there, it'll pull up everything.
there. Okay, great. So the currently untitled sculpture by Clint Shore, seen here in a photograph of a scale model, was chosen by the selection committee for the public artwork for the Wendell Wisenhunt Sports Complex at Woodson Park. This is the entry to the sports complex, and here's a slightly closer view. So the sculpture is going to be located on that second lawn that is closest to the concessions and the office building that is there at the sports complex. So the complex comprises the western part of Woodson Park that was divided when I-44 was constructed in the 1970s. So the area in the kind of pale blue is the area that we're talking about. Woodson is one of the 4 original anchor parks on Grand Boulevard as envisioned in the W.H. Dunn Parks Plan from 1910. And it was a beautiful plan, and we can still see remnants of it despite Grand Boulevard's destruction by thoughtless highway construction. Be that as it may, Mr. Shore's work will grace a portion of Woodson Park. In typical Clint Shore fashion, he has built a large-scale mock-up. Oh, I went too far. Go back here. Of a portion of the sculpture in order to better understand the total production process. So this particular form, which is based upon a very particular soccer ball design, I think it's called the Brancusa, is around 3 feet in diameter, and it's around half the size of half the diameter of the finished work. And the construction of it is going to be very elegant. Clint will pour the base with a form in it, and then the other elements basically just slip over it and fit into place. So the material for the column is a reflective aluminum tread plate, and the sphere will be powder coated white on steel. On the right-hand side, you can see a close-up of a work that Clint did previously using that tread plate, and he uses the reverse side of it, so it has a slight texture but still is highly reflective. And I'll like to pass on to you that in the selection process after Clint was selected, the Parks representative on the selection committee was just utterly thrilled by what was chosen, and saw the potential for using models of this as awards that they would give in the various soccer competitions that they have there. And thank you to Commissioner Kovash for helping us on the selection committee. So if recommended by you and approved by council, the sculpture will be ready for installation approximately April 1st, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, any questions? Are there any members of the public that wish to speak? And the applicant does not seem to, the applicant
I didn't
is with the
see
city,
him.
okay, or the artist? No. Okay.
I agree with the, I'm assuming it's an earthworm. I suppose it could be a flatworm. And that it is very cool.
Agree. Commissioner Kovash?
I know Randy alluded to it, but I just want to make sure everybody understands that this is basically a soccer ball. It's Clint's interpretation of a soccer ball, and it's just gorgeous. We've seen models of it, and I can't say enough nice things about it, I guess.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I would make a motion that we recommend this.
Second?
Do we have any staff notes to include in our motion? I don't think we do on this one.
It reads conditions for Vera and building permit is secured prior to installation.
Would you edit your
Yes, I
recommendation?
would edit my
to-
recommendation.
Okay.
We recommend it with the conditions as submitted.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Salyer. Was there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Cooper. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Duong, Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Seward, Commissioner Smalling.
Yes.
That completes the vote, Madam Chair. The motion passes.
Item 3B, a donation of $100,000 from the Civic Center Foundation to aid in the acquisition of public art to be placed in the Civic Center at 210 North Walker Avenue in Ward 6. Randy, can you present this item?
Thank you again. Again, clarification, so this is acceptance, a recommendation of acceptance of a donation that will augment the 1% for Art project that, and the funds that were already earmarked for the Civic Center Music Hall. The current project at the center, at the Civic Center includes renovation of the main lobby. It takes a very fine touch. Right there. So this is the lobby of the Civic Center looking from the south to the north. And other construction is taking place on the north side of the building, but this is the location where the 1% for Art project has been decided to go. And very specifically, we're going to talk about these fixtures that are up there. The fixtures are artifacts of a 1990s renovation, and it has been determined that they need to leave the building. And the two locations in the red ovals are the areas that we're talking about for the location of the new public artwork, which will be lighted hanging sculptures. So this is a rendering that the architects have done of the renovated lobby, and you can see the two banquettes on either side. So the locations for the artwork would be directly above those banquettes. There is approximately $85,000 to $88,000 that will be available from 1% funds for the art award. The total 1% budget was around $106,000. But of course, by the time everything gets taken out, it leaves about $85,000 to $88,000, which was enough to do one lighted sculpture very well. But the architects and the client, who's the Civic Center Foundation, really wanted there to be two pieces. And so the foundation has stepped forward and has offered to donate $100,000 to be sure that we can have the level of artwork that is wanted for that building. This is a close-up of the bar that is in the inner lobby, so also part of the renovation. And then these are just some, we may see something like this proposed by some of the artists who are finalists. It will not surprise me. As a matter of fact, I really very much expect there to be some designs that are pretty radically different from this, maybe more modern, but definitely keeping with the Art Deco theme, and that would coordinate well with the building. So we'll go through our normal process, but we'll go through it with $185,000 to $190,000 instead of that lower figure, and it'll be announced in BidSync, and we'll go through our normal selection process. And just to bring you up to date on something else, this isn't part of the project, but just to let you know, you can see on the right, of course, Mike Larson's sculpture, the conductor, which is currently installed outside the Civic Center, the ballerina, which is currently housed in the lobby, will be moved outside the building and will be mounted on a pedestal to match that, and will mirror the conductor on the south side of the main entryway. Again, that's not part of the 1%. The foundation also is doing that, so thank you to the foundation for the great work that is being done to help out the art overall at the Civic Center. So,
Madam Chairman,
again,
if I could maybe interject here, I just want to be sure for the record that it's clear that I serve on the Civic Center Foundation Board.
Thank you. Does,
And, municipal councilor, does that mean I should not vote? Okay, thank you.
Unless you believe that it would impair your ability to make a fair and impartial recommendation.
I do not believe that it does.
So with your recommendation, this will go to council to accept the $100,000 donation from the Civic Center Foundation.
thank you. Do we have any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Kovash?
So I don't remember seeing a donation approval before. Is this going to be something we will see in the future if it comes up?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
I'm assuming that we did this, the last time I remember it specifically was on the Red Andrews project, which was almost 3 years ago, in which the Oklahoma City Midtown Rotary donated up to $10,000 for that project.
Any other comments from commissioners or questions?
I'll move for approval.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Seward.
Second.
A second. Second from Commissioner Eichmann. And any further discussion? Hearing none. Mark, can you do a roll call vote for us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer, Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Duong,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Smalling.
Yes.
That completes the vote, Madam Chair. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3C, this next item was deferred from our September 20th, 2021 meeting. It is called ACM Walkway Lights, a technical creation by Nathan Hendricks of True Facade, 25 South Oklahoma Avenue, Unit ACM on the Bricktown Canal, for Downtown OKC Partnership and ULI Oklahoma as part of their 2021 ULI micro grants. This is in Ward 7. Robbie, can you present this item?
Yes, thank you. So you might recall this was deferred from the September docket because at the time this application became forward, even though it's on city property, it's still just right up on the ACM at UCO's development site. And so at that time, it seemed proper to go ahead and ask the applicant to meet with ACM at UCO to make sure there would be no issues. Also, the electricity that the applicant will use is something that, if you can see my cursor, the bridge right here, they already have some artwork there. and they pay, DOKC pays the bill on that, so it will also be pulled from that. This is one of the last remaining, I believe, DOKC ULI micro grant projects that you will see from this year. So, and it still has to go to Bricktown Design Review, but the applicant wanted to make sure that the Arts Commission recommended it before he did that. You can see here, this is a really bad Google Earth, just trying to kind of show you the proximity. It doesn't show well in this area. It must be hard to photograph. But then the applicant also gave you these images that really clearly show where the lighting will be, and you can see. And then here you can see where the existing power is again. Oops. And here are just some shots of examples of what you might see. So there's a couple of things about this artwork proposed that will help this area. It's a pretty dark area, and so when nobody's really around, it seems kind of scary. So this is going to lighten it up. It's going to make it feel, people feel loved. It's going to make them feel safer. It's going to be less conducive to people sleeping in the area that might choose to overnight, when it is dark. We also have Nathan Hendricks here. If anyone would like to ask the applicant any specific questions about this project, but I want to read off some of the conditions that we've got stated in the staff report. You will need a certificate of approval from Bricktown Design Review, and we will amend the public art installation and maintenance agreement approved by City Council. There will be some details of structure and fastenings that the city engineer will need to review because it's going on, being attached to some public property. And then they already have permission for the existing source since DOKC has already done that before, but they will need an electrical permit. And then this will most likely be an approved under administrative revocable by the city engineer as well. For the balance of the work. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And then, like I said, Nathan is here to answer anything specific about the work. I think it originally, too, this had even been thought of that it could be kind of an impromptu performance site, too. For canal boat rides, there's a lot of the art afloat now that's happening with little mini concerts. And I think this just creates another almost stage-like presence there along the canal for that.
The place where the source of the power is located, is it close to or on the water? And if it is it in a very stable structure that that cannot be pulled into the water?
That is correct. It's all on an upper bridge designed by an engineering firm for Oklahoma City that has done most of the work. The bridge work on the canal and all is approved by the city engineer. And this would also be inspected by Development Services to make sure that it's nothing that, would be subcode. It'll all be up to code and secured. And under our installation and maintenance agreements too, it calls for regular inspections, both with parks and with the applicant. So that would be performed as well, in case there's any troubleshooting.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kovash?
This is I guess, a sideways request. Since the proposal is very conceptual at this point, can we get a presentation when it's done so we can see what it looks like?
Aha, he says
Applicant
yes.
shakes
Gladly.
their head yes.
Thank you.
We will note that for the record.
Commissioners, any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, I would open the floor for a motion with the 5 staff recommendations, if that person so chooses to include them.
I would make that motion with the recommendations.
That is Commissioner Eichmann with the motion and Commissioner Kovash with the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Can we do a roll call vote, Mark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash?
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper?
Yes.
Commissioner Duong?
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann?
Yes.
Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Smalley.
Yes.
That completes the vote, Madam Chair. The motion passes.
Thank you. We are now on item 4. This is discussion action on reports from committees. Our first committee report is Commission Advocate, Commissioner Salyer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I did just have one brief report. Oops, sorry. Microphone on. I did have a brief report I wanted to make. Several of us attended a breakfast recently that was held at Park House, and it was hosted by a combination of, hang on just a sec, the Greater Oklahoma City Parks and Trails Foundation, in very close cooperation with the City of Oklahoma City's Parks and Recreation Department. And they brought a speaker to town whose name was Dr. John Crompton. And Dr. Crompton holds the rank of University Distinguished Professor and is both a Regents Professor and a Presidential Professor for Teaching Excellence at Texas A&M University. He's the author of a number of books and studies, particularly related to the economic development benefits of parks and trails. And this was his first visit to Oklahoma City, and it was incredibly interesting to me to basically hear him build the case for maps, which he wasn't familiar with, but just in his, analysis of the benefit of creating quality of life, he really told our story, which was incredibly enriching, I thought, for me. And the second thing was he talked so much about the values, across centuries of building parks, and then the increased property values that creates around it, and what that does for communities, which, again, to me, just told our story about tax increment financing and how incredibly successful Oklahoma City has been in using those tools that are very accepted in other communities. So we got to a Q&A moment, and he had never, as I said, he'd never been to Oklahoma City before, and he was asked, what struck him about our community and what he would recommend that we do to attract tourism and what kinds of things should we promote. And without hesitation, he talked about our amazing arts venues and, enumerated First Americans Museum, Oklahoma Contemporary, the Oklahoma City Museum of Art, the National Cowboy Museum, and the combination of all of these things that we've been able to put together over the years is something that he felt, was a regional and larger attribute that we perhaps weren't talking about as much as we should. And so I just wanted to make sure that this group was aware that from an outsider's perspective, the hard work that this commission has done for so many years and the arts community in pulling these things together is really recognized. That is my report.
That was a really good presentation, I agree. Thank you for mentioning that in your report. The next committee is the Arts and Culture Building Trust Task Force. That is me and Commissioner Chambers, and I believe our report is that we will have a report after the first of the year. Is that fair? Okay.
I did just want to say, I drive that space all the time, and now that the police headquarters is coming down in such a significant way, the building on its own looks really great. It's beginning to stand out in a way that you didn't notice so much before.
There are definitely lots of opportunities for this committee, and that may be the burden of the committee is to look at those opportunities and narrow down what is the best use of efforts on it, because as we've been seeing case studies from across the country, we realize that we do have some special things here that we can work with. So, yeah, agree. Staff report is next.
Okay, your two staff here have been going. We have currently 34 current 1% for art projects in process. We didn't have any installations of those 1% in the last month, but get ready because first quarter 2022, you're going to start seeing them roll in. You know, and remember, several of these are very large projects too, so they've been being worked on a long time. And we currently have 202 assets in the collection, and this also includes the zoo and the airport. And then we have 28 projects we're managing that are non-1% projects. These can range anywhere from major technical assistance to on a roundabout, say in Midtown, to managing the selection, contracting, and installation of the Homeland murals, which were under the Alliance. They can range from those to simple technical assistance too, where we're helping a group, you know, like Mesta Park, where we helped them walk through a selection process. S&I also falls in this category because we're using federal money. So, and then under our private sector completions, we track these by how many come to you for a permit. In the last month, we've had 3 of those. And that's our report. If you have any questions, please do ask. We'd love to
Robbie, I think I woke up in the middle of the night the other day and just wondered where we were with our feather.
On the feather?
On the feather.
Well, Randy, did you get a response yet today? Okay, we do get Randy bugs all of our 1% projects. Randy has a once-a-month reporting period that that he routinely sends out. And this was one we were just talking about, just Friday, in fact, that he was going to get a report on that this week. I mean, as far as we know, we're still on track for later in September, but we know there's still some engineering and lighting. Thank
I can
you.
give just a little bit of an update on that. So the last conversation with Jason and Leslie was that they're still on track for a late July, August installation. So that's what we are anticipating at this time. And the project will actually go to downtown design review in January, which is a necessary step before it can be installed. So those are 2 things that are happening currently. They were working on engineering and lighting those very specific elements, and those are the ones that I'll be talking with them about tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Excellent. Moving on to comments from commission members. I have an item from the chair I'd like to say. I think we don't always have a December meeting, but we did today, and I think it's a time for us to look back at our accomplishments a little bit, and I can't help but think about that when we hear the staff report and see how many working projects there are. But this year, I kind of have a unique perspective because I have a new baby at home. And so you think about the last year a little differently with a 3-month-old. And I just realized what a different Oklahoma City she's going to grow up in than I did. And a lot of it is related to the work that our commission does. And she will not know a city that doesn't have murals and the feather and all of these lovely things. So it makes me kind of nostalgic, but it also makes me appreciate the volunteerism that you guys all do. And all of our commissions do, but especially you guys. And then also thanks to Randy and Robbie for helping facilitate those items. Have a good holiday season, everyone. Happy New Year. Any items from other commissioners?
I've had another comment kind of in response to Commissioner Salyer regarding the comments of Professor Crompton. And that is, I think that we sort of have looked at art in Oklahoma City as these are things that people can, if they're here, they can go look at. But his perspective was those should be things that bring people to Oklahoma City. We have enough superior arts institutions and the quality and extent of our public art to make those reasons for people to come here, not just to see because they happen to be here for something else. And I think it's something that we can all promote and be very proud of.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. It was nice to hear his outside perspective on that. And public art was brought up many times as, contributing to quality of life in that presentation. So, Commissioner Kovash.
Yes, most of y'all know I've been doing quite a bit of work with the First Americans Museum, and That's another destination. It's a very important thing in the history of the United States and Oklahoma, too, for our 39 tribes that were essentially forced to come here. It's not an art museum per se, it's a history museum, but there are wonderful artistic opportunities there, and we have a mound to celebrate the mound building people, indigenous people. And tomorrow night, we're going to be having a winter solstice celebration. The mound is designed not only to be a spiritual place, but it also celebrates the summer solstice and the winter solstice. So if anybody is in the neighborhood, tomorrow night at 4:30, we're going to start, it's going to be an outdoor event, and it's going to be warm, so it shouldn't be an issue. And we have a tunnel that's in the mound, and when the sun sets, it will shine through the tunnel to celebrate the winter solstice. So if you can come out, I really recommend that you do. That's it.
That's excellent. Very cool. Well, any further announcements? Seeing none, we will see you January 24th here at Council Chambers for our next regularly scheduled Arts Commission meeting, and we are adjourned.